Meu nome é Otávio, estamos aqui no Salto by Southwest com Layla, Eva, da banda Birthday Girl. How did you girls started and how did you choose the name Birthday Girl?
It started off as a solo project, but the name, honestly, I can't really take credit for it. Our friend in this band, Sipper, he was originally a band member, and we were kind of just talking about names, and he was like, oh, like Birthday Girl would fit your vibe.
Tell me about your new album. You just released an album in March that have a huge name. Tell the folks the name of the album.
It's called In This Unassuming Little House, Only Good Things Can Happen. And honestly, I guess I went to college for a few years, and like I most of the time would just be in class like doodling or journaling or like writing lyrics. And one year I guess I just like started like compulsively writing that on like all of my papers and stuff. And I have wanted to use it for something like the name of something for a while, but haven't had any reason to. But for this, I don't know, it just felt like it fit. And I guess like to me, it's just kind of like saying that all of us are like safe and protected and only good things can happen for us, I guess.
So what you can say about the art of the album? It's really beautiful.
Our friend Emma, whose project is called Like a Doll, did the artwork for us. It's the back of the embroidery, which is almost like when you do embroidery, it's kind of the messy part, which is why we liked it. And then from there, Eva did a lot of editing work to just, sort of adjust the image and make the colors pop and things like that.
You're supposed to play as an official act of the South by Southwest. Mm-hmm. But like some other bands, you're not playing anymore. I want you girls to tell the audience what's the main reason for that.
When we applied for South by Southwest to be an artist, there was no mention of who sponsors the event, and for people at home, it's a very big event. There's film, there's music, there's tech industries, and it's a big conference for not just music, but people in creative industries and technology industries. And until like way down the line did we realize that the United States Army is a super sponsor of this event. South by Southwest has said proudly, and we do not agree with anything that the U.S. Army does. We don't want to serve any interests of the United States Army or the Department of Defense. And they are also part of the technology conference is debuting defense technologies from the Department of Defense, as well as like Raytheon and other defense companies, people that manufacture weapons, and then those weapons get used to kill innocent people and are used for causes that we do not support. So we joined other artists in saying that we're not going to entertain under these circumstances. We're not going to wear these badges and support the festival when we know who's supporting them, and particularly because of the United States Army's involvement in the war in Gaza. We thought it to be particularly pertinent to, at this moment, at this juncture, not support that. So we wrote a statement and officially withdrew and told everyone to come to see us in unofficial capacity. So we're still here, we'll still perform, and people can come see us. But you don't need a badge or a wristband to support us and to come see us, which is good for everyone, because that means everyone can come.
Do you think there's a generation gap on the mindset of supporting the U.S. Army? Because when we think on the U.S. and we think, no, everybody loves the Army and things like that.
Yeah.
But I realized, talking to other people here, that the people under 30 really wants to make the change.
Definitely.
You think that's the way?
I think so, but I think also, like, if you look back at some American history in the 60s and 70s,
Sure.
There's been protests against the U.S. Army and, institutions' involvement in, like, defense for a very long time. It almost seems like something happens when you get older that you sort of let that stuff slide.
I think it's also geographically as well. Like, I don't think like you would see a festival backed by the U.S. Department of Defense happening in New York City. Like,
Or
this is
LA,
Texas.
maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
like this is Texas.
Yeah.
Like,
That being said, though, I think like I still have like a lot of respect and honor for those who do serve. I just wish they didn't have to risk their lives for causes that I don't agree with, and I don't think they should be risking their lives for. So
How works your creative process, creating the songs? How it works? where it begins?
I mean, it definitely changes song by song, but it usually starts either with like a bass line or guitar chords that Layla writes, and then we usually kind of just like jam on stuff together as a band, and then do vocals last. But I think everyone has taken turns contributing to like lead parts of songs. Our drummer has played guitar on a few songs as well, and like we each do like synth or production and stuff on the song. So from start to finish, we're all doing it together.
How do you describe your music for somebody that never heard it?
I would say high energy experimental rock is how I like to describe it to people, but it can vary, but I would say that's broadly how I would categorize it.
I think that a lot of our songs have very different sounds from one another, so I feel like it's hard to put us in just one genre, but I think that sounds great to me.
I'm devout and I am holy. Let's wait to fuck until you hold me. Did you know I reach you close?
Can you mention some inspiration or bands that you think that's good for developing your career, your musical skills?
I think we
Yeah,
all agree on Sonic Youth.
yeah, I would say
Cool.
Sonic Youth is
Talking
definitely
Heads.
big. Talking Heads. I like the White Stripes, a lot of 90s stuff. And then our peers,
Yeah.
other bands that are out right now in New York, I like listening to and getting inspired by.
Definitely.
What do you think is going on with the musicians in this age of artificial intelligence and all those new technologies? Do you think that can help the creative process, or maybe can fit for a band like you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I also think that is pertinent because South by Southwest does host a lot of conferences on AI, and I personally do not think that it is helpful for any sort of like raw creativity. Of course, like a lot of stuff becomes referential, but it should never be automated. It should never be like you type a button and the song's written for you. And I think particularly with something like music, like Spotify has been putting out music that they have created via AI, so they're collecting their own money for, and that they just have automated. And again, that just takes away from real humans making art and can potentially be very dangerous for like any creative person.
Don't you think it would be nice for new bands like you to be part of it, to try to use and make difference, to try to influence, make some influence on that?
I guess I just can't necessarily think of any way that like I would really want to use it.
I agree. I don't know how to be a part of it. I mean, it kind of is excluding humans from the creative process.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it and why I don't like it. Is I understand it could be a tool. I know people like to use it for production work, like for mastering work and things like that. But I just don't see, at least for me, it's a lot about the process, and that's just like a huge shortcut to the process.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like for me, I don't really care if other people want to use it. Like,
Yeah.
by all means, like go ahead. If you can have 100,000 people listening to your song, like, and that's what you derive pleasure from, like that's great. But like, that's not what I would have fun doing.
What are your goals as a band? Where do you see the band in 10 years, for instance?
I definitely want to be touring all over the world and playing festivals and huge shows.
I think my main goal would just be to like perfect our craft more, write more music, learn our sound more, and just to continue to develop like creatively in that way.
Your music has been described as a new marriage of beautiful vocal lines and punch musicality. Do you agree with that?
I would say I would agree with that description. I think one thing that really works is we write a lot of the song before we hear the vocal and like lyrics and melodies. So you're able to really experiment with the structure and stuff. And then same with the vocals and the melodies are then able to like come in and sort of aid that and like complement what we've already written, which sort of allows for that balance, I think, to happen.
Yeah.
What questions I should ask you and I did not ask you? Maybe there's something that's important for you to say that I didn't ask.
I think the most important thing is just to say that we don't support South by Southwest as a festival. And you pretty much did that, and I feel like
Right off the bat.
that's a message that we want to bring home while we're here, which is that we're excited to be here and excited to play, but we do not want to serve the interests of this festival.
Super, thank you very much
Of course, thank
for
you.
the interview. I think it's a brave position of the band to stand up and say what you think. This is art. It's not
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
So I think it's very important for artists like you. I'm Brazilian, I oppose every war. In Brazil, we are victims of the imperialism and things like that. And I think a young band like you to stand up and say those important things for your generation and for my generation, for everybody, it's really important.
Yeah.
Even if people say, no, they are losing an opportunity to get a new audience, really. But on the other side, you can reach different perspectives than different people with
Totally.
that position.
I also think especially because it is our first time here and we are a young band and a new band, it's easy for artists to get pressured into doing things that they think are going to give them the opportunities that they want, but they may have to compromise their values because of that. And we just had a conversation all together basically saying it's not worth compromising our values, and we wanted to show other artists that it's okay to do the same. And yeah.
Thank you very much to talk with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having us.